Welcome artists. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a decorative clay project that fits inside of a shape. So to start, you're going to choose the shape that you want. I'm going to be using a square as an example for this video. Then you're going to take your piece of clay and you're going to start rolling it in your hands, and we're going to be making a coil. I'm doing a clay coil. So once I roll it just a little bit in my hands, just to make it a little bit more round, the rest of it's going to be rolled right on the table. So because this is kind of a shorter piece right now, I really only need one hand. But then as my coil starts to stretch, I'm definitely going to need two hands for it. Here's my trick when it comes to rolling coils. You start in one spot, and as you're rolling, your hands are moving out, and that's going to help make your coil be the same thickness all the way around. One of the common mistakes that happens is sometimes as you're working with this, it starts to flatten out on one side. That usually means that you're just pressing too hard on the clay. So you can always push down the side that is sticking up and then start rolling again. So this first coil that we're going to use is going to need to be a little bit longer because it's going to have to wrap around the whole square. It's better to have your coil be a little bit too long than have it to be too short. If you notice that there are certain areas that are a little too thin, try to stay away from them. And some of the areas that are a little bit thicker, you could just roll those out. All right, I'd say my coil is ready. Looks like a big rope of clay. It is ready to start wrapping around my shape. So I'm going to start at one spot on here, and I'm going to gently press the coil, and then I'm going to wrap it around, and I'm going to try to make it fit along the line of my shape. Kind of have to hold it in place a little bit so that it falls along those lines. And of course, if it's a little off, that's okay. If you want your edges to be more pointy, then you can always try to just squeeze them a little bit around the corners, and that should help. And then whatever is left over, you can take your tool and just slice off. Then smooth it so you can't really see the seam anymore. And then you're ready to start filling it. So now I'm going to start with my leftover piece here and roll it a little bit more if you need to, but otherwise we can start turning these into little snail shapes. So you take one end and you just curve it and roll it so it looks like a snail. And we're going to be repeating that throughout the whole shape. So now you would get another piece of clay and you would roll out some more coils. And you're going to continue, these can be a little shorter sometimes. We're going to continue to make these snail shapes and fill in our section. Fill in your shape. You can also do kind of a double snail, which is kind of a tricky one, but if you roll it one side about halfway and then roll it the other way, you can make kind of a fancy one like that too. So continue to roll out more slabs. And fill in your shape. So think about like this coil, I started with a much longer piece and so it's a larger snail shape, whereas these are a little bit smaller. Sometimes it can be nice to have different sizes within it because it can help make it look interesting. I'm thinking that this one's going to need a smaller one. So maybe I'll just do a little guy like that. And then This one over here is going to need to be kind of a smushed snail, which is totally fine. Maybe I'll do another fancy one. And then I just gotta squeeze this guy in there. All right, now that I've got this full of coils, my next step is to find all of the white spaces and fill them in with clay beads. So I'm gonna take little pieces of clay and I'm gonna roll them in my hand to make little clay beads. Now I've got a space right there that needs to get filled. I've got a couple little spaces in here that I'm gonna roll and fill until I get all of them covered. Some of these clay beads are going to need to be small, and some of them are going to be larger. So fill in all the spaces with the clay beads. Looks like I just have a couple more little spaces in here. All right, now that I have most of this filled in with my clay beads, the next step is going to be to smooth, actually the next step is going to be to raise your hand because you're going to get a little spray of water on there. This is going to help so that when you smooth it out, it'll all stick together as well. So now you're going to take, after a grown-up sprays some water on your project, you are going to smooth it all out. This is going to keep it so that it really sticks together, because you would hate for any of this to fall out or break. Almost done. My next step is going to be to write my name. And we can even just use a regular pencil for this, or the end of anything really. So I'm just going to do my initials, but you're going to want to actually write your name on the back of it. All right, finally, we get to see what it looks like on the other side. So you're going to carefully peel it off and turn it over. Now, if you have some areas that you want to kind of smooth out a little bit, now is the time. I see a couple spaces that I would like it to look a little bit smoother. And the final step is, if you would like to make it so that you could hang this up somewhere, then you're going to take the end of a pencil, or in this case I have a paintbrush, and you're going to press a hole wherever you would want it to hang up. So that's an option if you like. All right, then in a couple weeks after they have been fired, then we will be able to glaze them. They'll go back in the kiln and then they'll get to go home.